Some Brazilian songs which you can't even remember when you heard them, but they're part of your DNA. It's the girl from Ipanema, Corcovado. You know those songs before you even know what they're called. And so I have no recollection of when I first heard Brazilian music. It was just there.
When you start studying jazz, you get desafinado, and other tunes like that start entering your repertoire, and then more complex tunes that you don't know so well, and I just started discovering a lustrous and the complexities of some of these arrangements are just ravishing.
Well, this album in particular is one that I kind of grew up with. It's just something that my parents had around. There was always music on in my house. And then I worked in a record store when I was a teenager, and it was one of the first records that I purloined and just had on all the time. And of course the subsequent Jazz Gilberto and the Jobim stuff. It's always just been a love of mine.
And then about a year ago, we were in rehearsal with the band, and I just have this picture in my mind of Pete sitting at the drum and saying, you know that next year it's going to be 50 years that Jazz Samba was released?
I knew that it had been recorded at All Souls, and that Charlie Bird was a local guy, and then researched it a little bit more, and found that all the other players on it, Buddy Deppenschmidt, Bill Reichenbach, and Keter Betts, who I actually got to see before he died, were all local guys. So I just thought that it had a great local interest, and we're kind of a homegrown band. And I said, you know, we should pay tribute to this great landmark album.
We just met one of the Bird family, so there was a connection to the original album. We'd been playing the bossa novas, which David had taught us at that stage. And then when we realized it was 50 years ago, we said, wow, that's something. Then when we looked a little deeper and found it was 50 years ago and it was recorded in this very room, in this building in Washington, D.C., that got our interest even further.
And truly it is due to Pete that we are doing this project now. He just had all this knowledge, and he just brought this to the band of how it was recorded here in Pierce Hall. Who was there, the stories that followed the release of the album, the success of the album, what has become of Brazilian music since also. And that's why we're here today.
And we love the music. The music was fantastic. The more we thought about it, that was when the idea of taking the album as an inspiration, taking what we saw as the best of the album, and then building out and using our international flavour to try and reflect what happened with bossa nova. Bossa nova very quickly became a global phenomena. There were French, Italian, Brazilian films made featuring bossa nova stars by 1963. There were bossa novas translated into French. Only a year or so ago, Stacey Kent had a #1 hit in France with one of these 1960s bossa nova songs. And so we introduced additional songs that weren't on Jazz Samba to reflect that kind of spread. And the spread over time, we put on Mashkinada, which was the next movement after bossa. It was the Tropicana movement of Jorge Ben. We needed a Stan Getz. His playing is equally melodic and lyrical. We've worked with him on the previous album, and he sounded great on that. We've played with him live a few times. He was just the best sax player we knew, and he would just fit that role perfectly.
Of course, with the bossa nova, the CD, Jazz Samba, but also the Joao Gilberto, Stan Getz stuff, there was a much more intimate. A lot of composers, we say that Chet Baker was an influence, right? And they were listening to Miles Davis, they loved Gil Evans' recordings, all that sort of stuff. was absolutely a direct influence.
We really wanted to recapture some of the original songs that were released on Jazz Samba. And but we didn't want to just recopy the album. We wanted at the same time a little sample of samba since, like samba in the past 50 years. So that's why on the album you've got a song in French, because Brazilian music became huge in France. And the song that we're doing, Samba Sarava, was the title song of a great movie called A Man and a Woman, a French movie, which was a huge success. So it was this balance that we wanted to strike of celebrating Jazz Samba, celebrating the album, but then bringing our own. What other songs can we bring to this mix? Some songs you'll see are not at all from the genre. They are brought into the genre. And it's about being playful. It's really about the joy of that music.
From the very first time I rest my eyes on you, boy.
Because that song, Waiting in Vain, has been with me for a very long time. And I've performed it with Ken as a kind of a more folky duet over the years. And you know, it was just that idea, so what if we can do a bossa on that? And we started arranging the song, and we really liked it. And there was nothing that could be done wrong to that song for me to ever dislike the song. But when we brought it to a show, it was like instantaneous love. People responded to it, and we saw that the song really had kind of a universal appeal. And that's why it became part of the album.
I don't wanna wait in vain for you.
This has been a big week for us. This has been a busy week, it's been a hard week. It's gone better than we could have possibly imagined. It's Friday afternoon, we've got the basic tracks down, we've done the video, we've performed in Pierce Hall, and it's feeling good now.